Welcome! This movie is based at Ashpeth station, and as you can see on the western side of the station I installed a gantry with coloured light signals a long time ago. But what I've never got round to, but I'm going to do now, is put in signals at the east end. We need starter signals for the platforms and we need one 3-aspect signal for the main line. I've already planted in the opposite direction dummy signals because these can't normally be seen from the normal way in which I view the layout. And here you can see the dummy signals. The first job is to drill the holes, but as you can see looking underneath the layout, I have to be very careful not to foul any of the existing cables that are there for the point motors and other signals. And as we come over the top, you can see where the holes have been drilled and the signals that I'm going to use lying close by. These are CR signals, and I'm using brackets with 2 3-aspect signals as platform starters and one signal 3-aspect signal for the main line. They already have resistors attached. Here is a 4-light tower which is going to go into the steam section of the yard. Here is a 2-light stand next to the mess hut, and then another 4-light tower at the diesel end of the depot. I soldered 3 brown live cables and 3 blue returns to the power adapter. They went into terminal blocks and 6 live cables come out the other side. I chose to use rotary switches, and here they are in a test position on what will eventually be the control panel. The next job was to solder all of the wires onto the first bracket signal. Here you can see red, yellow and green for each of the signals, with blue for return. Each of the solder joins is covered with heat shrink to protect them as they are lowered down through the holes in the baseboard. And as you can see, there's quite a lot of wire for these signals because it's a long way from their position back to the control panel. So here you can see the little signal dangling on its wires, and I have to be very careful as these wires trail across the layout with all of its existing scenery. It would have been much easier, of course, if I'd actually done these signals well before I'd put in all of the other scenery. Once these 4 cables have been fed through, then of course the other 4 cables have to follow. Next, solder the cables to the rotary switch. You only use 1 quadrant of the switch. The live feed is in the center and the colours for the different coloured lights are on the outside. The return goes into this cable terminal which has already been positioned underneath the layout. So that's all the wiring and soldering done for the first signal. So with the switch on the control panel, it's now time to fly across and see if this first signal works. Oh well, great, we have a red light. Now what about the others? Success! Having completed the wiring now on all of the signals, it's time to see if, when we fly across again, all 5 are illuminated. Thankfully, they are. At this stage, the cables underneath have not been anchored in place, because I still need to allow a lot of movement on the signals because they will have to be raised to allow enough room for the passing trains. The amount of clearance that I needed created rather ugly stands, so instead I extended the platforms and made them look much more like starter signals. This needs to be finished off, but you can see it's going to look much better. Then for the yard lights, I soldered together the 3 returns and put them into the terminal block underneath. and then to the single switch that I was going to use, I connected the live feed and 3 of the power supplies soldered together. Here's the final control board with the switches and the names of the platforms underneath. Finally, I turned down the main lights to see if the yard lights are working okay. The tower's illuminated okay, and the 2-light tower next to the mess hut is okay. So as we fly across to the steam end of this preservation depot, we see that the other tower with 4 lights is illuminated as well. Great! With that job completed, we can now have some line-side action at Ashpeth station. And the first train we see is a Class 67 with a rake of VBA box vans in tow. A Class 158 in East Midlands Trains livery pulls into platform 3. As in the distance, the signal clears for platform 4. It's a Schenker liveried Class 60 with loaded pipe wagons. A Freightliner Class 66 with a short rake of Freightliner branded TEA wagons. These are the first crowd-funded N-gauge wagons produced by Revolution Trains. We will have a closer look at these wagons. They are exquisite models and bode well for the future of other crowdfunding projects. I purchased 2 different liveries, although 6 were created originally. 2 HSTs are due to stop in platforms 4 and 5, and the first is in the Great Central livery. The second HST set is in East Coast livery. This has been created by using vinyl overlays from Electra Railway Graphics. These TEA wagons have already seen quite a bit of use and are starting to get a little mucky. This Royal train appeared in a previous video, but the motive power has now been updated to the Royal Livery Class 67s. And the Royal theme continues with this GBRF Class 66 called Golden Jubilee. Finally, we climb above the coaling tower, probably illegally, to get a bird's eye view of the whole of the station. This Class 66 has a pretty long rake of JNA ballast wagons and low-sided MOA ballast wagons. The final train that we're going to see pulling into platform 4 is the EWS Management Train, with a Class 67 at the front and a Class 82 DVT on the rear. This train was again created using vinyl overlays. Well, that's it for now. I hope to see you again soon.